In this video, we will learn about threat intelligence and threat research sources. What is threat intelligence? Threat intelligence is evidence-based information about the cyber attacks that cybersecurity experts organize and study. This information may include the mechanisms of a cyber attack, how to identify that an attack is happening, how different types of attacks might affect the business, and action-oriented advice about how to defend against these attacks. Simply put, threat intelligence refers to the actions taken in order to gain intelligence or information about a threat. Examples of organizations that generate threat intelligence reports are Sophos, Webroot, Sentinel, Entity Security, and Kaspersky. Threat intelligence providers. Threat intelligence providers are the organizations or independent researchers that generate the threat intelligence reports for organizations to be prepared against known threats. Threat intelligence providers are the ones who generate the reports for organizations to be able to defend themselves from the known cyber threats. There are different types of threat intelligence providers. First and foremost, there's the public information sharing centers. These are publicly available threat intelligence reports. Kaspersky Threat Intelligence Portal and NVD are examples of public information sharing centers. Closed or proprietary threat intelligence providers. Such threat intelligence providers only share their threat intelligence commercially. It's for sale. They only provide these reports to the organizations that pay the intelligence providers. This could be in the form of paid subscriptions. Websites of vendors. Assume you are trying to look up information on a certain IP address reputation. You can look it up by accessing websites such as the IP void and check its reputation. Open source intelligence, OSINT. Open source intelligence is intelligence produced from publicly available information that is collected, exploited, and disseminated in a timely manner to an appropriate audience for the purpose of addressing a specific intelligence requirement. OSINT draws from a wide variety of information and sources. What is threat research? The information required to carry out the threat intelligence is acquired by conducting threat research. In the process of threat research, information regarding threats, past and present, are collected and thoroughly studied to come up with accurate conclusions. The organizations that collect, study, and distribute threat information reports are known as threat research sources. These organizations include reputed universities, cybersecurity research agencies, and the dark web. Threat research types. The data threat intelligence researchers study can be classified into three types: the behavioral threat research, reputational threat research, and the information acquired via client, network, and logs. Behavioral threat research. In this research, the researchers try to gain an understanding of the actions taken by the malwares and its intentions to better understand the malware's goals and behavioral patterns. This information can be utilized in developing a counterattack or a patch or a fix. As part of this research, the date when the first time a malware is detected is noted, and this older version of malware is compared against the present version of the malware in order to understand how the malware has evolved. Reputational threat research. This keeps tracks of the reputation of certain sites, domains, and IP addresses linked to malicious activity. If a site were to pose as a legitimate site offering useful services, but instead prompts unsuspecting visitors to download malwares, such sites with bad reputation are studied by threat research organizations and included in the report. Information acquired via client network and logs. In this type of research, the information from the client's network, the devices, their traffic, and network logs is thoroughly studied in order to better understand and detect the suspicious activity on the network. This helps in early detection and prevention of cyber attacks. Indicators of compromise, IOC. What are indicators of compromise? IOCs refer to the data that indicate that a system may have been infiltrated or already compromised by a cyber threat. They provide the cybersecurity teams with crucial knowledge after a data breach or another breach in their information security. IOCs share evidence of intrusion and alert the Information Security Department of a potential security breach. IOCs don't warn you of an incoming attack, but they alert you of a possible intrusion. They ask you to check to see if a network has already been compromised. We learn more about the IOCs by comparing them with the indicators of attack. Indicators of attack focus on identifying the activity linked with the attack while the attack is happening, whereas the indicators of compromise aid the organization assess if it's under attack, if there's a security breach. Common indicators of compromise. Firstly, there's the unusual outbound network traffic. Outbound traffic during off-peak hours or traffic communicating with a suspicious IP could indicate an indicator of compromise. Let's say the office hours are till 6 p.m. Everybody leaves after 6. But then you notice that there's a lot of unusual traffic at around 8 p.m. going to an IP you aren't aware of. Then this is an indicator that your network could be compromised. Anomalies in privileged user account activity. A high privileged user account accessing sensitive data during off-peak hours or on files rarely accessed could indicate that the credentials were stolen and that the network has been compromised. Activity from strange geographic regions. Most organizations have traffic that comes from a targeted area. State-sponsored attacks and those that come from countries outside of the organization's targeted geographic countries could indicate compromise. Let's say there's a US firm operating in New York. All of its employees are from New York. But then all of a sudden they notice that IPs from North Korea are accessing their network. It could be an indicator of compromise. High authentication failures. Attackers use automation to authenticate using phished credentials. A high rate of authentication attempts could indicate that an attacker has stolen credentials and is attempting to find an account that gives them access to the network, that gives them higher privileges. Large number of requests for the same file. Hackers often try again and again to request the files they are trying to steal. If the same file is being requested many times, this may indicate that a hacker is testing out several different ways of requesting the files, hoping to find a way that works. Mismatched port application traffic. Attackers may exploit obscure ports as they execute an attack. If an unusual port is being used, this can indicate that an attacker is attempting to penetrate the network through the application or to affect the application itself. Suspicious configuration changes. Changing configuration on file server and devices could give an attacker a second backdoor to the network. Changes could also add vulnerabilities for malware to exploit the network. Flooded traffic to a specific site or location. A compromise on devices could turn them into a botnet network. An attacker sends a signal to the compromised device to flood traffic at a specific target. High traffic activity from multiple devices to a specific IP could mean that internal devices are part of a distributed denial of service attack. Key takeaways. Threat intelligence refers to the actions taken in order to gain intelligence or information about a threat. Threat intelligence providers are the organizations or independent researchers that generate threat intelligence reports for organizations to be prepared against the known threats. The organizations that collect, study, and distribute threat information reports are known as threat research sources. Indicators of compromise share evidence of intrusion and alert the Information Security Department of a potential security breach.